Hi and welcome to course C of this first trimester workout. We're going to do a breathing exercise building on what we did last time, mainly focusing on releasing the diaphragm and the upper abs. This is super important for pregnancy and then for the postpartum period, so don't skip this bit. And then we've got 3 core exercises that we're going to do 3 times, I think. Okay, so let's get started. Lying on our backs. We're going to start with the same breathing exercise that we did before. So taking a breath into your abdominal muscles and into the lower rib cage. You should feel both of those expand, and then as you breathe out, they should gently come back in. You're not pulling them in, you're not sucking anything, nothing should go hard. It's just about releasing. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take your fingers and stick them under your rib cage, okay, which we did before as well. Breathing into the lower belly. And then as you breathe out, your fingers should go up and under your rib cage. So a breath in, belly comes out, rib cage goes out, diaphragm comes down, and then as we breathe out, his fingers go back up. So 2 more breaths like that. Breathing in, belly expands, fingers get pushed out from under the rib cage, and then as you breathe out, fingers go back up and in. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a pelvic tilt. So let's just practice the pelvic tilt. So it's just tucking your bum under and kind of touching your lower back on the floor, not pressing your lower back into the floor, just doing that little tilt that takes the curve out of your lumbar spine. I know this is how a lot of core exercises are taught. I'm not going to get you to do that. I think it's important to leave that curve in your lower spine, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. But just to practice, just practice tucking your pelvis, doing this pelvic tilt, tucking your pelvis under. Imagine it's a glass of wine and you're pouring wine out the back, and then you're untucking it. Tucking it under, untucking it. Okay, now we're going to time that with the breath. So take a nice breath in, into the belly. Fingers get pushed out from under the rib cage, and then you breathe out, same breath out. Fingers go back up and under the rib cage, and then you tuck your pelvis as you continue breathing out. But that diaphragm should stay soft. Okay, you should be able to tuck that belly and tuck that pelvis, and the belly continues to come in without it going hard and without the diaphragm pushing down. Okay, so let's do that a few more times. Untuck the pelvis, breathe into the belly, fingers come down, diaphragm comes down, and then as you breathe out, don't tuck yet, breathing out, and then when you run out of breath, then you tuck the pelvis, pull the tummy in just slightly. Breathing in, untuck the pelvis. You don't have to arch your back, just untuck the pelvis. Into the lower rib cage, into the belly. Fingers get pushed out from under the rib cage, and then as you breathe out, belly comes in, diaphragm goes up and in, fingers go under the rib cage, and then you tuck your pelvis, and your fingers go up. Continue going up into the pelvis. So do it one more time. Breathe in and out. Okay, you can continue to practice that on your own. That's a really great exercise for engaging the bottom of the of this system, the pelvic floor and the tummy, without engaging the rib cage, the diaphragm and the upper abs. And that's a really important exercise postpartum too. Okay, let's move on to our 3 core exercises. We're going to start with a dead bug. So what we're going to do is take a breath into the lower belly, rib cage, and then as you breathe out, lift one knee up, breathe into the tummy and rib cage again, and then as you breathe out, tummy comes in, and you pull that second knee up, okay, stopping that belly from bulging out. If that's really hard for you, then this is the level that you're at, like we did in the last one, I think. It's been a while since I filmed it. Okay, and if this feels good for you, here with 90 degrees at the hips, 90 degrees at the knees, and you should feel your tummy working quite hard. Now I'm week 12 and I already have a bit of a tummy, so these things feel a bit harder. And we're going to start with the easier level of this, and then we're going to make it a little bit harder. So keeping a 90-degree bend in your knee as you breathe out. You're going to pull the tummy in and up and just touch your heel down. Okay, you don't want to thrust your rib cage while you're doing it, and you want to make sure that your belly isn't bulging out. You don't have to suck it in, you're just stopping it from bulging out as it goes down. If you're able to do that, you can straighten out the leg. That's starting to get really challenging for me. I'm not sure I'll be able to do that for too much longer, but I can feel my tummy muscles going hard, but they're not bulging out just yet. My tummy doesn't feel completely flat, but that's because it's not anymore. So straightening out that heel, whatever level's right for you. If this is the right level for you, then this is where you're staying. And if you can straighten your leg all the way out, then do this version, which is harder. Okay, last one. Awesome. Right, then we're going to come onto all fours and work the core in a slightly different way. So we've done this single arm bird dog. Now we're going to do the single leg bird dog. So just do a couple of breaths here, breathing in, and then as you breathe out, tummy comes in and hugs the baby. You won't really feel that yet, but you will eventually. We'll continue practicing this throughout your pregnancy. Then as you breathe out, we're going to straighten one leg out. Okay, this is much harder than the other leg than doing it with the arm, and it's really hard not to shift your weight over or bend one of your elbows. Okay, imagine you've got 2 cups of coffee, one here, one here. I use this cue all the time, and you don't want to spill it and scald yourself. Okay, you want to try and keep everything completely still. Okay, and it's really hard. If I just turn this way a little bit, it's this really flattering position. It's really hard not to shift your weight like this. Okay, you want to try and keep everything completely still so that hip stays the same distance from the floor and you don't bend your elbows at all. Last couple, I'm finding it really hard to not sort of bend my elbow and lean into this side a little bit. That makes it much, much easier. Last couple. Okay, we're going to zoom out for the next exercise. Okay, this next exercise is called a windmill. It's great for the side muscles here. You're going to take a wide stance. This first time round, we're going to do it without weight, and if you want to, you can add a dumbbell next round. Okay, so you're going to take this wide stance here, turn your left foot out, right arm up in the air, left arm down here on your thigh. Then we're going to reach down towards the floor and keeping this hand directly above the shoulder and looking up towards the hand. Okay, and then standing back up, hand stays on top of the shoulder. So imagine you've got a rope around this hand, and as you come down, it's still being pulled up towards the ceiling. As you stand back up, it's still getting pulled up towards the ceiling as well. Okay, so you're not doing this. You're pushing the hand up towards the ceiling, always keeping it the shortest distance as possible to the ceiling. Okay, if this knee hurts, you can bend it just a little bit. And you can, if I show you from a slightly different angle, you can keep your body completely straight, but you can also bend your spine. It's fine to do that as well. So if you're flexible enough, you can reach a little bit between your legs and just touch down a little bit past your legs. Your back doesn't have to stay completely straight. Okay, let's switch to the other side. And some of you aren't going to be very flexible. Or have much balance apparently. Some of you aren't very flexible and you're going to be doing this. You're like, Jen, I can't get any further, I can't get down to the floor. That's totally fine. Okay, just do the range that you can. You're probably feeling a big stretch here and in the back of your leg, and probably a big stretch here as well. Some of us are really tight in this muscle, or these muscles. So it helps us stretch out and strengthen it through full range of motion. Just work in the range that you can. If you can get all the way down to the floor, that's fine. If you can get between your legs, that's totally fine as well. Okay, so I'll show you. Coming down here is fine. Coming down here, it's fine. And coming down all the way to here is also fine. Whatever level you're at. Watch your balance. That shouldn't be happening yet. Okay, last one. Awesome, we're going to come back down onto the floor and go back through those 3 exercises. Okay, so round number 2, we're going to go back through those 3 exercises a little bit faster, just 10 reps of each. So 10 reps of this dead bug, whether it's here or with your heels touching down. And if you want to, at this point, you can add in the opposite arm. So both arms up. You might find it's harder to not overarch your back here. Your lower back doesn't have to be pressed into the floor. It's fine for it to have that little curve. You just don't want it to, you don't want to sort of overarch it like this. You want it to stay the exact same distance from the floor. So opposite arm and leg, try not to do this. Okay, you're not bringing, whether you're using the arm or not, you're not bringing that opposite, the leg that stays up, you're not bringing it in closer towards you. You want to keep that at 90 degrees. That's what makes it harder. And if that's too hard, come back to this one. Okay, last one. That was definitely more than 10. On to all fours. We are actually going to do 10 of this bird dog now. 1, remember you've got those 2 cups of coffee, especially on that tailbone here. You don't want to be shifting from side to side. Okay? Breathe into the tummy. Breathe out when the tummy comes in. Really try, and as you get more tired, it's more tempting to shift the weight over. As you lift your right leg up, you should feel lots of weight on that right arm. And it's really tempting to shift, to transfer the weight over. Try and keep it as still as possible. Try not to go over here with your arms either. Hands directly under your shoulders. Last 2. Last 1. Okay, and suddenly back up for our windmill. Okay, if you have one and you want to, pick up your dumbbell. I'm using a 4 kilo dumbbell here. You can do it with a 1 kilo dumbbell, 2 kilos, 10 kilos, whatever's right for you. So foot pointing out, 1 foot pointing in. Now it's really important for that hand to stay on top of your shoulder. If you're not flexible enough in the shoulder here, just leave the dumbbell out of it if you feel like it's falling forward. It's really important for that dumbbell to stay on top of the shoulder. If it comes over here, it gets really heavy. Or if you put it over here somewhere, it feels really heavy. It's got to stay right on top of that shoulder. It adds a lot of resistance for these muscles, but it also adds a lot of shoulder stability. You do need flexible shoulders for it. If you're not doing full range of motion, if you're not all the way down to the floor, don't bother with the dumbbell. Okay, last 2 on this side. Last 1, and switching sides. Looking up towards that dumbbell and pressing the dumbbell up towards the ceiling and finishing with the dumbbell stacked right on top of your shoulder. I'm actually going to reach back between my legs just a little bit. Like most people, I'm a bit wonky, I'm a bit more flexible on this side. Last 3, I think. I'm not really counting, I'm just guessing. 2 and 1. And if you want to, join me back down on the floor. We're going to do 1 final round. If you've had enough, that's 10 minutes. Leave it there. If you want to join me for 1 final round, we're going to go back down and do that 1 more time. Okay, so last round. Bird dog, wherever you're at. Sorry, dead bug. Wherever you're at, it's called a dead bug because this looks like a dead bug. So level 1, just touching the heels down. Maybe you're a little bit further along than me. Maybe you have diastasis recti from a previous pregnancy or a slightly weak abdominal muscles from a previous pregnancy. Sliding the leg out all the way if you need to. And if you want to, you can add in the arms, keeping that opposite knee at 90 degrees. We're not doing this or something. Okay, keeping, oh now I've lost it. Keeping everything completely still. It starts to get really hard towards the last few reps. Prevent that back from arching. Keep it the same, keep it tight. Last couple. Last one. Awesome. Onto all fours. Bird dog. I don't know why this is called a bird dog. A really weird name. Make sure those hands are under your shoulders. Make sure your hips stay square. Don't shift from side to side. Breathe into the tummy. Breathe out as you stretch the leg out. And pull it, letting the tummy recoil and come back in and support you in this part of the movement. I'm finding as I get more tired, I'm feeling that shift a little bit more in the hips. This is just as much a hip stability exercise as it is a core exercise, which is also super important in pregnancy. Okay, last two. Last one. Okay, last set of windmills. With or without the weight, maybe you want to try a heavier weight, it's up to you. 10 on each side. Hand above the shoulder, working in the range of motion that you have. So if you feel really tight and you could only go down to here, it might be because your adductors are a bit tight, it might be because your obliques are a little bit tight. Some people are more stiff-bodied than others, and it's totally fine. There's nothing wrong if you're not that flexible. Give the mobility program a try. That'll be really important for you, and you can harness a little bit the pregnancy hormones to get some improvements. But it's totally fine to be more stiff-bodied and to not be flexible. Okay, last two. Last one. Oh, and then switching sides. I'm definitely going to feel that tomorrow. This isn't something that we'll be able to do throughout the whole pregnancy. The belly will get in the way, it will hit the thigh, it will be too much just for the whole core at one point. But right now, in this first trimester, there's no reason why we can't work the core in this way as well. We want to work it in all the ways possible, and we want to modify things only as we have to throughout pregnancy. Okay, last one. Whew. That's it. That was core C. I hope you enjoyed it.